Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Light It Up. This is the Conscious Talk Show with me, Buddha Bomb, radio host and DJ, along with the esteemed and renowned Brigitte Mars, who has a long resume, and this is a short show, so we won't be able to get into all of it. Also, esteemed guest, Jonathan and Andi Goldman, world class and some of the original sound healers. And we're very excited about this. This is the second time Jonathan and Andi have appeared on Light It Up. It was about a year ago last time, and there's reasons for that. So we'll get into what sound healing is all about, a little bit about the history of Jonathan and Andi and how they got into it, and other topics as well. I can't remember right now. Let's see, what were, Brigitte, what were all the some of the shows we've done so far?
Well, Light It Up, we've been airing once a month, and we've done shows on the conscious dying movement, on saving the bees, crop circles. We've done one on the Urantia book. Cannabis is a sacred psychoactive. Um, Creating a healthier world, getting off our lawns and growing edible weeds, Jedi survival skills for a perilous planet. So every month we bring you a topic that is free speech, which we celebrate, and we're so grateful for this opportunity to have Andi and Jonathan Goldman here to grace us, because we know that this is an opportunity to use our voices for pursuing truth, beauty, and goodness. And we get to speak and make a difference. And I turn this over to my dear friends, Andi and Jonathan
Yeah.
Goldman.
Yeah. Well, and I'd just like to ask you guys just to lay a little bit of groundwork for us. Like, tell us, what is sound healing? What is it all about? And then maybe a little bit about how you got involved in sound healing, and then we'll take it from there.
Hmm. Well, first of all, Brigitte and Buddha, thank you so much for inviting us on. We are delighted to be back
What a pleasure to be doing
and
this with you all.
and to be able to share our information on sound and to just speak truth and beauty. And thank you. So,
And bottom line, before we even begin, and our life is sound, so we're going to just, take it away as much as you like and interject anything. But it's just such a blessing if you think about it. You know, how extraordinary that we can all be communicating with each other through means like this. And all the topics that you're talking about, oops, sorry, here we go.
there we go.
No,
There we go.
the funky thing about the internet,
Sorry.
the positive thing about the internet is we can do it. The funky thing is that strange things happen. I really think that we need to do offerings to the divas of electricity and cyberspace and digital platforms in a big way, because weird things happen or can happen on the internet. Have you all noticed that?
Um, yeah, absolutely. And I want to just chime in that the Urantia book says that there are actually angels of technology. So invoking the angels of technology before you go to do your thing might be a worthy prayer.
You know what? I think we should just do that right now. And I invoke those angels, those beautiful angels of technology, to
Oh,
be with us throughout this program. Thank you, angels.
I do that
Wow.
whenever I do any recording, actually, and oftentimes when I even just turn on my computer. So, Buddha Bomb, I know that may seem goofy, man, but I'm telling you, sometimes things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, reliable technology is an oxymoron.
And the idea is that we're all ultimately energy fields, and our energy. Who knows if the cyberspace look on a level you can perceive that the energy field created from a computer is very similar to that created by a quartz crystal.
Mhm.
And therefore, and if we can interface with this, I mean, I used to years and years and years ago have a good friend who is the head witch of Salem, Massachusetts. And we used to record together and, whatnot. But he would have the ability of going into a computer with his mind, and he could literally reprogram the computer. I know it sounds nuts, but I saw him do some very, very... All right, real quick story, and then we'll get back on. So there we are in Lexington, Massachusetts, in front of my... we have a number of tape machines all together that are playing simultaneously, and we're doing a mastering of a recording that ultimately was at the time going to be a cassette and then became a CD. And as we reached for the mixing knobs to change them, they moved by themselves. True story.
Do 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 do.
No, that's just one of them, but I want you to know, so that did happen. And so these things do happen.
Well, and also at this particular time, and I was just mentioning to Brigitte before the show, Mercury is retrograde, and when Mercury is, and it's going direct, I think, in the next day or so, but when it is retrograde, it just mixes anything that has to do with technology, communication, anything that correspondence, whatever, it just gets it all mixed up and confused. And I know that sometimes that will happen and I'll go, Mercury must be retrograde, and maybe I may not have been aware of it, and I'll look in my ephemeris and indeed Mercury's retrograde. So that, could be happening as we speak. But as we speak, I would love to get back to
the subject of sound.
And why is it that sound is such a powerful, powerful tool for healing and a powerful modality?
Would you like that there?
Oh, honey, yeah.
Okay, so bottom line, basic concept is that our ancient mystics and our modern quantum physicists are in agreement. Everything is in a state of vibration. From the electrons moving around the nucleus of an atom to planets in distant galaxies moving around their suns, they're all in motion, and that motion can conceptually be creating a vibration that might even be able to be heard by certain very astute individuals. And this includes our body. Every organ, every bone, every tissue, every part of our body is in a state of vibration. When we are feeling good, we say we're in sound health. But and we're like this overall orchestra that's playing the symphony of the self. But what happens if the second violin player loses their sheet music? They begin to play out of tune, out of harmony. Pretty soon, the entire string section sounds off. Pretty soon, the entire orchestra sounds off. And this is, if you like, akin to a part of our body vibrating out of its normal, healthy, resonant frequency. So the basic idea of using sound as a healing modality is simply, what if we can restore back to our body or one of our energy fields that which is vibrating out of ease or out of harmony, putting it back in ease. And Brigitte, I know on a level that any sort of herbs, virtually there's no medicine or, if you like, therapy that I know of that doesn't utilize this as a principle, whether it's acupuncture or chiropractic, osteopathy, anything, chromotherapy, light therapy, any of these things, naturopathy, whatever, they all utilize this idea. And it's simple, but yet it's so profound. It's so very, very profound. So that's one thing. Now, do you need me to move this over a little bit, Liz?
If you could put it back over.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, kids.
We're having a little technical. There you go.
I moved the screen over because.
There you go. So that's better. And I do want to let our audience know that really there are two ways that sound affects us. Sound affects us on a vibroacoustic level and a psychoacoustic level. And I want to talk about each of those, because when we are listening to sounds where the sound travels in through our ears, down our auditory pathways, up into our brain, and it affects our nervous system, it affects our heart rate, that is psychoacoustics. Now, when we're listening to sounds that have been designed specifically for healing, that's where we just are in that state of absorbing and listening to the sounds. Now, when we are using our own voice, such as if we are humming or toning or, whatever, it actually is vibroacoustics, because vibroacoustics, the sound goes into our bodies at a cellular level. So when we are making a sound such as a hum, that is probably the most powerful vibroacoustic sound. So we are just constantly engulfed in sound, and so we want to sort of have that differentiation of the vibroacoustics and the psychoacoustics, so that we're educated into what we are listening to or how we're feeling through our sound.
And I just pulled out this goofy long tuning fork, which is fun, and a very slow tuning fork. It's vibrating at 32 hertz, which is just at the lowest level of our hearing. But if you were to hit it, and once again putting it on your body, the sound travels through this, goes into your body, and is actually shaking up the cells. And I have a number of different tuning forks, like this one. Let's see, let's take a look. This one is tuned to the Schumann resonance, which is a harmonic of the resonant frequency of the earth. And I use this, it's a little smaller, and I put it on, and it's great. So here's another way of doing it. So just as a thought, Andi and I like to go into psychoacoustics and vibroacoustics just so people can get that overall gestalt of there being two different ways, because all sound doesn't necessarily go in through our ears. And I mean, that's great, that's one major, but going into our body is another very powerful thing. And here, I'm on a roll. Quote from the New York Times Science section, 1988. February 8th, 1988. Wow, how many years ago was that? Pretty close.
33.
And it basically said, sound shaped into dazzling tool can make, break, or rearrange molecular structure. And then here's the next one, or levitate objects. So, all those stories about the pyramids, etc., and all the giant stones being lifted by sound? Well, that's something that science has known about for a while. Now, of course, they're only talking about, at this point, we've only been able to develop the ability to pick up things that are like kind of a ping pong ball. But suppose the ancient mystics and the ancient Egyptians or the Atlanteans or the Lemurians or whomever had a technology that was much more advanced, or the Tibetans. Because there's a story, I got to go on to this one, okay, from the 1930s, a Professor Yao went over to Tibet, and he was with a group of people, including a film crew, and they observed these Tibetans chanting, blowing horns, focusing their prayers, and lifting these giant stones so that they could build a temple at the top of a cliff. And very well detailed, very well seen, filmed, brought back to Europe, seized. It was supposed to be released back in the 1980s, never did, but that's an example of a modern time. And you probably have heard of the Coral Castle in Florida, where this fellow basically had these small, little cone-shaped devices. Nobody ever saw him do it, but he basically seemed to have been able to move these incredibly large objects and build all sorts of things. And he said, well, I just simply discovered how the ancient civilizations were able to move these very heavy objects. And I got to tell you something, I was thinking about that. If I knew the secret, I wouldn't tell anybody.
Right. Yeah, well, one of the things about that story that I really like is when people would try to peek into his yard, and then all of a sudden he'd tap him on the shoulder as they were looking in and say, "Can I help you?" So he would know when people were there, and that's how he was able to not be detected.
Yeah, but think about it too. Buddha Bomb, if you had the ability to lift stuff up, would you give that away to other people? Not because you wanted to hold on to it, but do you think most people have the responsibility to use something like that? You know, one of my latest sayings is, do we have the consciousness to be able to utilize the technology we currently have? And I'm not sure that we do.
Well, that's a whole nother story. But talking about secrets and shall we share secrets? Well, Jonathan has a book called The Seven Secrets of Sound Healing. And so there's a lot of secrets out there that we want people to know about. And one of those secrets that I'm going to start with
Uh-oh.
is that is that we are all unique vibratory beings. And so the sounds that we hear and the sounds that we experience, the sounds that we actually emit, they are going to be really specific to our vibration. And so we are going to be affected differently by different sounds. And so if, someone goes, "Oh, wow, I really love that," someone else may go, I don't like that at all. So we are all unique vibratory beings. What's
That's
another secret, Jonathan?
Another secret.
There's 7. That was,
Okay.
we got 6 more to go.
One of them basically is that for the most part, and this is just our experience, but it is that there is no, quote, magic frequency. People are really, as they have discovered and are really discovering the idea of using sound healing, people are trying to go for the specific magic frequency that is going to heal X, Y, or Z. And we always say, and this goes into the also, so you got to follow the thinking on this one, as Andi was saying, we're all unique vibratory beings. Okay, if everything in the universe is in a state of vibration, this would include penicillin. And we would always begin a workshop by going, okay, how many of you are allergic to penicillin? And anywhere from 5, there you go. And here, right now, it's going to be 50% or more because Andi is allergic to penicillin too. So between the 4 of us, Buddha Bomb, how are you doing on that one?
I'm not sure. I avoid it. I don't do any pharmaceutical drugs.
No, I'm not talking. Are you allergic? Because
Not
for
that
us,
I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of.
okay,
So I would
for
say
us here,
probably no.
50% of us might be healing, but for 50%, it's toxic. Whoa! And here's one of the most important, powerful, if you like, vibrations for healing on the planet. Yet, in this small group, and I love this, I'm going to tell this story just because here's one where, sometimes we have a group of 100 people, and there'll be one person or 5 people who raise their hand. But here, there'd be half the people. And that's just sort of the odds and statistics. So I wouldn't say half the world is allergic to penicillin, but still just an indication that what's going to work for one person is not going to work for everyone. Brigitte, I'm sure, as a person who works with herbs, that you have found people that don't resonate with certain things.
Absolutely.
And everything is frequency. We are all in a state of vibration. So with the herbs that you work with, Brigitte, they all have their own unique vibration. And so they're going to interface with another vibration in a person in a very specific way. And so there's not one size that fits all. And I think that that's really important. There's not one sound that is wonderful for everybody. So I think that's a important piece.
Right. And I wonder if just want to get down to like real basic ideas here. Can you explain exactly what frequency is and give us some example of how?
I can't, because I can tell you frequencies of sound.
Right. Okay.
And frequencies of sound are the motion. Believe it or not, frequencies of sound are the motion of air molecules moving through space as they are basically being agitated by the motion of something, whether it's a guitar string, your voice, or vocal cords or whatnot, they're moving through space. But that is just one very limited spectrum of vibration. And, you bring this up because a lot of people perceive that light and sound are the same thing, that light is simply sound speeded up. And I will tell you that if you take a frequency and you speed it up 40 octaves, which simply means that you double it 40 times. And if you don't think that's a whole lot, I say to anybody who's here, if you take a penny and you double it every day, so the next day you have 2 cents, the next day you have 4 cents, the next day you have 8 cents, how many days until you're a millionaire? And the answer is 28 days before that penny becomes $1 million. And that's a fact. That's really the crazy thing. So if you take a frequency in the sound range and bring it up 40, multiply it, double it 40 times, it'll be the equivalent of a frequency in the light spectrum. But I don't think that they're actually the same. I think they're actually different modalities. I think they're very complementary. I don't think personally that they are the same. There are people who say that they are, and this is something that no one's ever going to know. I think there are a lot of complementary frequencies or vibrations that are occurring. And here's one of the things that I think is so very, very important. I'm jumping now, but I wanted to go back to the secrets of sound healing. One of the secrets of sound healing is the power of intentionality. Mm-hmm. And the fact that, from our understanding, the effect of the frequency or the sound that you're making is dependent upon the sound and the frequency, but it's also dependent upon the intentionality or the consciousness that is encoded upon the sound, so that we have a formula.
And that is frequency, i.e. the sound, frequency plus intention plus intent equals healing. And so the consciousness that we're holding, that we put onto our sound, sound can be a carrier wave of consciousness, and that intention is what is so important when we are working with sound, because when we hold the intention of healing, appreciation, loving kindness, compassion, when we are holding those very positive thoughts and feelings, and then we're sounding forth, for instance, if, I'm thinking of all these other things, but when we're sounding forth, even with the sound of om or a hum, and we're holding the intention of healing, appreciation, love, what's happening is that we are forming a coherence between our heart, the electromagnetic field around our heart, and the electromagnetic field around our brain. And when we are in a state of positivity, there is a coherence between those two magnetic fields. And now when we put our sound on that, it amplifies that energy even more. And so the energy around our heart, feeling love, feeling appreciation, feeling all of those really positive, good vibes, our heart energy just expands and expands. And so
I wanted to jump in as we go on to that one and just simply suggest that we travel for a moment back to the very, very most important of life-giving molecules, water. And just for a moment, remember the work of Masaru Emoto, who took water and would expose water to different vibrations, different intentionalities, different frequencies, different aspects. And water that was, if you like, exposed, what he would do is he would take distilled water, freeze it, then he would put it through a dark field microscope, and when the water was unfreezing, he would photograph it. And when the water that was, if you like, healthy water, pristine water from a mountain spring or whatnot, or from a beautiful song, or from a good intention such as love, appreciation, or my music, believe it or not, when he would do that, they would take on the most incredible geometric shapes looking like a snowflake. But when he would do certain types of music, or polluted water would look like mud. And there's this one, it was so for me really, really important. It was like water from the Fujiwara Dam in Japan, and it looks like mud. And then he's got the same water that has been rephotographed after 20 minutes of a priest chanting over it. And I did a little research and I found out that it was actually a Buddhist priest who was doing the Heart Sutra over it for 20 minutes. And when you look at it, it looks, incredibly geometric and looks like a snowflake. And I just always say, okay, if this is true, then think about how much of our body is composed of water, how much of our planet is composed of water. So the idea of, and this is getting us back to World Sound Healing Day, the idea that we can literally heal our personal waters, we can heal our planetary waters, we can, with sacred sound. And what is sacred sound? From my perspective, on a level, it's almost any sound that is made with the intentionality of love, compassion, gratitude, and appreciation. Okay, I'm done.
Wow. That's so profound. Thank you. I'm blissed.
All right. Shall I take a breath or you?
Well, so you said something about World Sound Healing Day, and this is something I've had the pleasure of participating in many times. And so tell us a little bit about how we can participate and what the intention is. It's gone on for quite a few years, right?
Oh, would love to talk about World Sound Healing Day. Thank you, Brigitte. And coming up February 14th is our 20th World Sound Healing Day. So we've done this now for 20 years, and on that day, February 14th, which is Valentine's Day, which is a beautiful day that people are holding the energy of love anyway. And what we have done is we have created a time, a day, where people can gather and they can hold the intention of healing Mother Earth and holding that intention and then sounding whatever that sound is, like Jonathan was just saying, whatever sound, as long as it's holding the intention of compassion and healing. And so what we've done through the years is it's shifted and changed from the very beginning. We would sound forth with the ah sound, because that is the sound of love, and that is the sound that we
The
feel.
heart center.
And it's Krishna and Tara, and
Buddha.
it's just this beautiful sound, and we would then sound that from our heart, and that was sort of the beginning of it. And we would gather people, and we would have a sound ceremony on February 14th, where we would all gather and sound forth with this beautiful ah sound, holding the intention of healing. And we would do that, we would gather in person. And we're going to talk about how we're doing it now, since we're not able to quite
But
gather.
I just want to jump in and say, but didn't we also have all sorts of reports from people who are doing groups throughout the planet live? Yes?
Oh, absolutely. It wasn't just here in Boulder that we were
All
doing.
over the place, be hundreds of
No,
groups.
this is World Sound Healing Day. And so over time, we now have, oh my goodness, 50, 80, 100 different countries represented on World Sound Healing Day. And so one of the things that I wanted to back up, though, because we were just talking about water and how important the waters are on our planet, in our bodies, and how we can affect the waters both in ourselves and our planet with our sound and holding that intention. And so when we were doing our in-person group here in Boulder, we had a beautiful crystal bowl in the middle of our circle on our altar, filled with water. And so we would have our ceremony where we would sound for an hour, and we would have the intention of that water being just bathed in compassion and love and healing. And then at the end of the ceremony, we would all get a cup of water from the crystal bowl, and we would all drink it. And that would be sort of our message to the universe to heal the waters. So that was one of the things that we did with World Sound Healing Day. And of course, it has definitely evolved. And Jonathan, you might want to talk about the portal now that we have, because we aren't able to gather as in person like we did, but that's going to change, we know.
Yeah.
So in the meantime,
So just as a thought, before all this stuff with the imbalance in thought forms, whoa,
of COVID.
all right,
we
COVID
can
came.
say that.
We basically would have these things live. And we would do our radio shows and other stuff that people could tune into. But all of a sudden, it was like, wow, we can't meet. And working with our dear office manager, I was thinking, gee, is it possible that we could do some sort of like portal where people could post and create events that they were doing using Zoom and a gazillion other platforms, Facebook and YouTube and all this other stuff. And it turned out that it was like not real hard to do that, and that we made it then accessible to anyone who wanted to do it. And we have continued opening up the idea to the fact that this year we were saying, okay, if you want to basically, if you're a poet and you want to do a poem, or you want to do a guided in other words, it doesn't have to be an sound, or doesn't have, it can be any sort of sound as long as it's done with the intention of love and compassion. But the idea of this is really interesting, because it seems to be kind of, even though we've been doing this for 20 years, and particularly the portal's been on for a couple of years now, it's not a festival. It's not a summit. We do not collect people's names. We don't ask them to register for it. It's literally a sonic celebration of sacred sound, and anybody who wants to do it can do it, because if we did it as a festival, there would be a limited number of people, and probably based upon the who's best known. We wanted anybody who has the intention, who wants to go online to do this, to be able to do it. And that's why we've kept it from being, we wanted to be inclusive, not exclusive.
Well,
Right. And then you have a website where we see the schedule of who's presenting when. So can you just tell us about that?
I'm sorry.
and
Yeah,
yes,
that's a
and
big deal.
in fact, people can go to worldsoundhealingday.org, and there they will find the portal. They'll be able to see all the different events that are currently posted and will continue to be posted, links to those events. And the whole purpose of World Sound Healing Day is to get as many people as possible on our planet to, with their sound, and Jonathan was just saying, can be any sound as long as it's held with the intention of healing and compassion, but it's to gather and get as many people to sound forth healing our planet on February 14th. And so it's all inclusive, and it isn't, there's nothing exclusive about it. And so if you want to facilitate a group on Zoom, maybe your community that you work with, maybe you'll gather on Zoom, you can post that link on the portal, and then anybody in the world could actually go and hit that link and visit your group. And so you can participate on any level. You can join a group that is listed. You can facilitate and put up a link that you are doing. So it really provides a format for many, 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 many people. And now there's literally thousands and thousands of people that participate every year in World Sound Healing Day.
Right. And then another feature I wanted to mention, which is an important one, and I think which makes it really even more wonderful, is it's free. Nobody has to pay any money. There's not a money exchange. It's an energy exchange.
Oh, thank you for that, Buddha Bomb. That's right. It is free and open to the entire planet. And that is the beauty of it, so that there's nothing that can hold someone back from participating who wants to participate. And so we are just encouraging as many people as possible to visit our worldsoundhealingday.org website and check it out and kind of peruse through it and look at the different groups that are already posted. And you can see, I think we have a map of the world
Yeah,
with different
Google Maps.
with different lights that light up wherever someone is going to be doing a group on that particular on our next February 14th.
And I just want to jump back, forth, or sideways with this one, because on New Year's Day, I went into a very deep meditational place. Very deep. Because a couple of days before, you kids know about this, we had 100-mile-per-hour winds, and we had apocalyptic fires that wiped out some people that we know their houses and all that stuff. Like 1,000 houses gone in hours, just almost vaporized. And then after that followed, blessed be, by a blizzard that put that out. But I thought, wow, this is pretty strange. So I got into this really deep state, and I hadn't expected it. And what I simply got was, the Earth Mother is really hurting, and you really need to focus your energy on World Sound Healing Day, because we need positive thought forms for our planet. So I share that with you because I know that you have to agree.
So true. It's so true. And what I love about this sound frequency is that anyone can join, no matter what team you've been on, what your beliefs are. It's a way that we can all agree on something so simple, to be part of the one love for the universe. No, you could be Darth Vader and say, hey, I could do that. Let's make the universe a better place. So we invite all beings to join. Really, that's so great.
Oh, thank
Yes.
you, Brigitte. And I'm so happy to hear you say that, because on our planet right now, there seems to be such a divisiveness that is happening. People are feeling it, and I want to do what I can do to dissipate that as much as possible. And certainly with our World Sound Healing Day, that's one avenue that people can take to really participate in the unity, in the coming together of people for a beautiful intention of healing, and that is healing our planet and all sentient beings. And so we are grateful that we can provide this format, and just want everybody to come.
And just a couple of things. There are actually some large groups that are going to be doing silent meditation. Well, you know what? Silence is the yin to the yang of sound. And there is this thing called this is kind of interesting. The heart chakra. The Sanskrit name of that is Anahata, right? The name for the practice of tuning into the unstruck sound is called Anahata. It has the same name as the name for the heart chakra. There's something to that. I mean, a lot of people go, but that is actually true. Didn't make that up. And so once again, silent sound. So there are people who are simply working with we talked about the heart-brain coherence that HeartMath does a whole lot of, and they're probably going to be taking part in this as well, blessed be, and lots of other people. But the idea that our field can literally interface with what we like to call the Gaia consciousness. It's also called the noosphere, the field of our Mother Earth, and literally shift and change the vibrations. And there is scientific data to show that this stuff is real. There's a lovely being, for example, named Roger Nelson from Princeton, who has come up with the Global Coherence Initiative and Global Consciousness Project. And what he did for many years was he basically, and he just started out accidentally, but he would take these random number generators. And if anybody wants to know what a random number generator is, it's simply a computer that puts zeros and ones out in a random thing, but you're going to have in about 100 zeros and ones, you're going to have 50 zeros and 50 ones. It's like flipping a coin. And he found that when these machines, these random number generators, were near events of high compassion or high psychic, spiritual, sacred stuff, the numbers became less random. In other words, it was not 50-50, it was different. And he was able to, therefore, a random thing would be a flat line across. And instead, he observed that a lot of these things were literally, they looked like mountain peaks because he could chart them that way. So that's one indication. Another thing, what they have found is that events of high compassion, deep meditation, when they have tracked violence and criminal activity around these areas, particularly around the areas where they've happened, the violence has decreased for weeks after. So something is going on. There's more that you could talk about, et cetera, like that. But see, unfortunately, I don't think there's a whole lot of money to track this type of stuff. If you come up with a pharmaceutical that can, take away X, Y, or Z, there's a whole lot of money there. But to track peace or track the power of our peaceful thoughts or whatnot, not so much. So it's harder to come up with the science, but there are dedicated, wonderful, scientists who are doing this work. The people at HeartMath, they're great. And I mean, it's real and this is beautiful. And I would like to suggest that right now I can only tell you this and I have a story to go with this one too, so please, if you'll allow me, is that in a deep inner knowing, that the reason that the prayers on our planet are sounded, whether they're vocalized, sung, chanted, played, whispered, is because sound amplifies the power of our prayer. And I spoke to a very big scientific organization and said, great, would you do the research for that? I said, no. Okay, I just said, I'm not into doing research, but I know it, okay? So now I want to take you back 40 years, okay? I'm in Germany talking to a group of medical doctors, talking to them about vocally created harmonics, which are sounds, overtones, if you like, and particularly using a sound that, I don't know if this will be able to hear it, but something like this. I don't know if you can hear that or not, because Zoom is interesting, but it's a really nasally created sound. And back 40 years ago, I said, okay. I said, we call this sonic dristan. I thought that was very funny, and nobody in this group of 100 doctors cracked a smile. I think it's because they didn't have Dristan in Germany. It's something else. But bottom line, cut to, Andy and I wrote our book called The Humming Effect, and we talk about the use of nasally created harmonics to generate nitric oxide. Wonderful book.
We highlighted it. You can see we read it out loud and highlighted all the really important parts we wanted to remember. And there's a lot of highlights in here. So
Beautiful.
Thank you.
that's valuable.
Beautiful. Thank you, Brigitte. So I just recently found this. It's a 50-page article, an abstract from the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm. This is a Nobel Prize winning medical school. And they did this research from 2005 showing that nasal humming creates basically nitric oxide, which is a antiviral, antibacterial substance and can take care of all sorts of stuff. And it's now beginning to manifest at this particular time and space. Interesting. But I knew it back in 1980. I found this information like 40 years later when we wrote The Humming Effect. So
That's why you're a pioneer.
no, so I'm saying that
He's a pioneer in
the
this field.
research had not been done, but I knew it because I had experienced it. Andy will tell you that a couple of days ago
Oh,
she had a
right,
blocked
right.
nose.
Right. It was really interesting because I woke up and I was just kind of all, blocked and head coldish like. And I went, oh, gosh, honey, could you get me a cup of tea? And then Jonathan said, aha, honey, why don't you hum? And I'm going, well, of course. And I started humming and I hummed for about, 5 minutes or so. And then got up out of bed and I went, oh my gosh, I was completely cleared. And so it was interesting because the nitric oxide that is released in the nasal passageway when we hum, it is emitted and it clears out all of those little critters that are trying to invade, and then after about 4 or 5 hums I would take a short break because that would take the time for the nitric oxide to regenerate itself, and then I would hum again for maybe 4 or 5 times, take a little break, and after doing this for about 5 minutes, honestly, my head was cleared. And so it's when something works and you experience it for yourself, wait a minute, there is something to this. And so something as really easy as humming can be so effective.
I can't help but think about the current virus that's been going around and how it's an airborne virus and how I believe it does enter through the nose quite often. That really every time anybody goes out in public should just come back and hum.
At Buddha Bomb, absolutely. In fact, Jonathan and I, of course, we wrote the book, The Humming Effect. So we have a humming practice that we do every day, and we hum for 5 minutes every day. You don't have to do it for a long period of time. You can, of course. But anyway, so far, knock on wood, we've been
Right. I mean,
we've been healthy. And I don't know, and I'd like to attribute that to our humming practice.
Well, I mean,
don't, it's certainly
I don't
part
see
of
why
it.
people don't do something like this as a preventative measure to enhance our immunological system. It's easy. You hum for about 4 or 5 times, then you stop for a couple of minutes, then you do it again, and what's interesting is the amount of nitric oxide that is created when you hum is 15 times greater than normal. In fact, it's the same amount as the nitric oxide that is being researched at Mass General Hospital with their healthcare workers to combat that particular nasty virus that's here. So isn't that interesting? So I'm just suggesting, what do you got to lose?
And, I'd like to, on the back of our book, we have a quote from Dr. Bruce Lipton, who wrote The Biology of Belief. And I'd love to read that quote. He says, I highly recommend the humming effect for all those impacted by the stress of the modern world. It is a powerful, non-pharmaceutical, and I like that. It is a powerful, non-pharmaceutical prescription for self-healing that has only positive side effects, such as harmony, health, and happiness. And so we have within us, we have the power to shift and change our levels of stress, our levels of health. We can do that with our voice, and certainly humming is one of the ways.
And that's just one of the aspects of humming. You get reduction of heart rate, respiration, blood pressure goes down, melatonin gets released. But I want to suggest that with regard to hum, here's just a big thing. We're not necessarily talking about humming zippity doo-dah or any we're talking about basically, we call it conscious humming, where you take a breath, nice deep belly breath, and then you sound forth in one tone. Then you take another deep breath. And your writing vibrates the pineal gland. Yes, it does. Yes, it does, Brigitte.
And the vibroacoustic way that sound affects us that I talked about earlier, that particular sound that we just made is the most powerful vibroacoustic sound we can make.
And that's simply because your mouth is closed. As soon as you open it, some of the sound energy is going out. It's that simple. If it's totally closed, then the sound energy is all self-contained. Number one. Number two, if you slightly change your pitch and slightly change your intentionality, just to do it, first I'm going to change my pitch. I'm going to move the sound from my head to my chest. So now I move that from like that. Now I'm going to do it with just intention. Now you couldn't see or sense anything, but it went from here to here, believe it or not. Just using intentionality. That's how powerful our intention is in terms of the resonance that we can create.
Yeah, Brigitte put a message, you can't patent it. So this is a non-pharmaceutical, and just like World Sound Healing Day, humming is free.
That's right, Buddha Bomb. Yes.
I have a story I have to go back. I guess it all relates to that medical conference in Germany where I was doing this thing. And what was so interesting is who sponsored the medical conference, Music Medicine, back in the 1980s in Germany, in Ludenscheid, Germany, done by the International Society for Music Medicine. Who sponsored it? One of the drug companies. And I'm going, why are they sponsoring this? They want to find out if there's anything that they can either patent or basically might be threatened by in order to stop it, because you can't really patent at least self-contained sounds. But I will say that there have been people who are trying to patent. I remember I met this very well-known doctor there, and he was working with vibroacoustics. And I said, what frequencies are you using? He said, I can't tell you because there's big money in this. And I told him what the frequencies were, because I knew a lot about stuff. And he kind of opened his mouth and said, don't tell anyone. I said, no, I don't care. But it's so interesting. What if we were to give this stuff away to the planet? And you're right, you can't patent the voice.
And we can give away our information on sound and humming just so beautifully, and we love to do that.
Yeah. So.
It's kind of like, why don't they make medicine out of the dandelion, which does so many things? It's like, well, who's going to profit off of that? But we really are showing that so much healing can come for free, and it not only heals our bodies, but it helps to heal our relations with, all of life, and the frequency of even the, four-legged ones, and the air, and yes, I love this.
Brigitte, do you sing to your plants?
I do. Yeah, but as a matter of fact, we open the doors and do gardening, and Bethy Lovelight, sings to the plants, sings to the neighborhood. It's so powerful, the whole idea of harmony, and this is something we need to do together more often. I'm so on board. I think I mentioned to you that I have been trying to get people to ohm at 420. It's so simple. Not that you need to be smoking anything. It's really just the intention of having one breath for peace. And I know you said it doesn't have to be, any particular time. It could be 11:11, it could be midnight or midday. But the idea of if we would all every day take a conscious breath for peace to align our frequency with the intention of creating unity on our planet. It's so simple that, even a child could do it. And I really think this is a very important movement because we're not going to be able to win any wars with weapons. The consciousness expansion is going to come from within, and this is a very reaching out and embracing the oneness of all.
Oh, that is so beautiful, Brigitte. And I'm so happy to hear about that because, whether it's World Sound Healing Day or whether it's 420 Ohm Day or whatever, it's like bringing people together. And that is really what we want to do now. And one of the things when we are humming or oming or any working with our own voices and we're with other people, the hormone oxytocin is emitted, and that is the trust hormone. And so we begin to feel we can trust life, we can trust the people that we're with, and that just begins to dissolve those barriers that we put up, consciously or unconsciously. So I'm a big supporter of 420 Oming, World Sound Healing Day, whatever sound, just bringing people together.
For World Sound Healing Day, we like to say, we heal the planet, we heal ourselves, and we heal the planet. And as a reality, every day should be World Sound Healing Day.
And 420 Day.
420 Day, whatever day, we should realize that we are innately interconnected with all that is. And therefore, as we can basically put ourselves into a state of oneness through usually making sound and taking some nice deep breaths, it's that simple. And, we can do that. It affects all other beings. And because we are innately interconnected, time and space are indeed, if you like, illusions of the lower mind, and quantum physics has shown us this. So we're all right now together, even though on a visual level, there might be actually some lag time between us. There might be a second or 2 seconds between what I'm saying here and what's being projected there. Then if you think about that, okay, what's the difference between a second or 2 and then 10 seconds? Okay, what about 100 seconds? Well, what about 1,000 seconds? Because then it all becomes relative, and it's still, if you like, we're really able, there's no separation, that's, I guess, what I want to say. And I really wish we could understand that, because it's one of the things that would probably keep us from being so divided and divisive, and some of us thinking, I'm right and you're wrong, or you're, that type of thing. Why do we have to do that?
Yeah, I have a question. If one has negative thoughts, I mean, these have been difficult times. People have been worried, scared, separated. There's been divisiveness, us against them kind of things. How do you recommend remedying that and basically going from a bad mood to a good mood?
Okay, I have a friend, somebody we know, and he said
Oh, go ahead.
a while ago, he said, you can't hum when you're angry.
Just we had the same thought, because I was going to say one of the things that I like about humming is that it is pretty immediate. And when you are feeling all of those negative thoughts and you are stressed out or you're angry or you're feeling, you're in that us against them, once you can say, hey, I'm there, I don't want to be there, what can I do? And you start humming with that intention of shifting out of that place. Close your eyes and just and begin to hum.
Feels good. Feels good. Just did it. Just not thinking it. I said, wow, this feels good.
You can't, when you're humming, you can't be angry when
And
you hum.
and I'm also really sensing that the sound is going on all the time. You know, the sound of everything, and you're joining the sound that's already present. So it's like, yeah, that's really big to me.
And we have that, we can empower ourselves, you know, because when we do feel that separation and that divisiveness and that anger and that, you know, people are really feeling that a lot in our culture currently. And something as simple as humming, really try it and see if you can shift your energy by humming.
One of my great humming experiences happened 30 years ago in Hollywood Hills at a party that was being thrown for me and for a man named Dr. John Lilly, who you probably know of John Lilly's work with dolphins, ketamine, all this other stuff. And John and I are both sitting on sort of a lanai together outside, trying to get away, just a little. And he's sitting there and he's going, he's humming. And he's humming sort of to himself, but I'm really attuned. I'm checking out what's going on with him and I'm going, wow, this guy who has done massive amounts of, shall we say, consciousness altering things, has figured out something about the hum that triggers his nervous system and is basically helping him, recapture, shall we say, a psychotropic moment. That was my initial hit. And I said to him, John, excuse me, but are you humming consciously? And of course, you don't ask a man who's written all these books on consciousness a question like that, because he proceeded to go, young man, I no longer know what consciousness is. And he proceeded to talk to me for about a half hour about everything in the world, but I never got an answer from him. But I knew that he basically was doing this as a profoundly powerful vibrational shifting tool, which was, which lay dormant inside of me for many years until we decided to go, hey, let's come up with a sound that everybody can make. And we went,
And I want to go back to our formula, to the formula that Jonathan created 40 years ago. Frequency plus intent equals healing. And so just remembering that formula when you're in that space of feeling the negative vibes all around, remember, frequency, make a sound, put the intention of shifting and changing your consciousness. That is what's going to equal healing.
I've been like trying to think, I was going, all right, I'm going to, because I've tried to like get myself really angry. And if you're angry, you constrict and you can't hum. It just, try it. You try to go, you can't. It just doesn't happen. We hum when we're happy. We hum, babies hum, the elderly hum, people hum unconsciously. I was cracking up because as you guys know, having been in this field for 40 years and whether I'm doing the Tibetan or whatnot, I've got a whole bag of tricks of sound. And it well may be that I'm going to be known as the humming guy. But hey, if we can bring humming, if you like, is this fabulously all-inclusive. It's like a gateway sound that can open people up to other things. This is not the only sound at all, but no, if you like, and this is from the yogic tradition, the Yoga Sutras, Goldman's translation, Sutra 1.27. The original sound of creation was pranava, the humming of prana. They had to give it a name, so they called it Om. So literally, the humming of prana, they needed to give it, so the Om came from the sound of the hum. How cool is that? So it's also a sacred sound. All right, I'm done talking.
Right. Well, I thought of another one that, mothers with infants or both parents in today's world, of course, Uh, but I know one of the theories of how music, how song started was, mothers singing, calming down the child and humming and singing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, in a way, it's the most human thing we can do,
Yeah.
is humming.
Yeah. And we've all had the experience of humming. And, uh, I'm even thinking of my mother
Oh,
who,
that's a great story.
who had a stroke. This was several years ago, but we were doing our research on humming at the time. And we said, Mother, you know, imagine, just hum and pretend. I mean, she was 88 or 89, and she, was supportive of our work, but didn't really quite understand what exactly we did. But I said, and Jonathan, we said, just imagine, just pretend that when you hum, it's like traveling up to that part of your brain where this stroke occurred. And because we found out from the doctor what part of the brain it had happened in. And so she decided she would do that. And, and Jonathan called her, I guess, 2 or 3 days later. And it was
Right.
amazing.
Well, we were actually talking to her practically every day. And the first day after she had speech impairment, for sure. And I was going, wow, okay, something was going on there. And then that's when we gave her the idea of, hey, find out where it is and pretend. And she's a lovely, delightful being. And even though she might have thought we were a little whacked, why not? She did it.
She did it. She was
So
happy to
next day,
accommodate.
no change. Next day, no change. Next day, better. Next day, back to normal. Maybe that would have happened by itself, or maybe not.
I mean,
Isn't that
it's strictly anecdotal.
I was in a
and-
PhD program where I was going to be, I literally had a name for this whole thing. I dropped out because my first book became so popular. I had to go on tour and I just never got back into the program. But it was basically based on the idea of making sound, harmonically related sound that would stimulate the neurons in the brain and make neural synaptic connections. And of course, in the humming book, we have a whole chapter on that we call it the humming hypothesis. But I think it's really true too. Somebody's probably going to win a Nobel Prize some point when they prove this, when they get the funding from the medical things and they don't go, oh, well, we can't make any money from this, self-created sound. They're just going to research what's going on. Because there's some really interesting research. Someone was mentioning the fact that they do the vagus nerve is very big and works with the whole thing of the heart. And one of the ways of creating high vagal toning is what it's called, is by humming. Another thing, there are all these different things. Singing and toning creates what they have now researched, that toning or creates heart rate variability, which is like one of the major cornerstones of major stress reduction and relaxation. So they're slowly beginning to do this, and we love it.
You can feel the vibration that it's creating, and it's something so simple. I would think even people, I mean, every language can do it, and even maybe someone who's paralyzed or nonverbal or even, somewhat deaf probably could. It's such a primeval thing, and it really reminds me too, the letter M is very much about more and multiply and
Mother.
mother. It's really, and mountain, and I'm going like this about the breast, but it's kind of like a baby at the breast, feeling the nurturing. And you said planet Gaia consciousness, it really is about that, so inclusive.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and being inclusive really is the primary reason that we chose to write the book on humming, because it is so inclusive. And we just want people to understand and to know the power of their own voice through humming. And so hopefully we're getting the word out in ways that will make a difference for people.
And basically, we love music. You know, I've been playing guitar for too many years, and you know, we love singing, we love performing, and this is all great. But just wanted to come up with something that everybody could do so they didn't think that they had to go to music school, become a guitar player, or, you know, I mean, we have these wonderful shows where people judge each other's voices to see who's got the best voice, which is great. But what does that do? That crunches your own voice if you have a question of, hey, I don't think I can sing. Therefore, if I can't sing, I can't do this and that, and therefore I can't do sound as a healing modality. No. If you can hum, you can use sound as a healing modality, and everybody can hum. And you're right, yes, you can be deaf, and you will experience the hum as a powerful vibroacoustic sound, because it's not done through the ear and the whatever. It's the sound. Obviously, when you were making the sound, you could feel the sound goes up through the sinus cavity, goes up through the sphenoid bone into the brain. It's something. Three ways that you hear: air conduction, skin conduction, bone conduction.
Yeah. And wow, humming is a cure-all and a good thing to do.
And it's like giving yourself an internal massage.
Yeah, and one doesn't have to understand music theory, like you were saying, you know, so it's a non-stress, and there's no another beautiful thing, there's no technology involved.
That's right. That's right. Yay for that.
Unless we considered humming to be a technology.
Conscious humming, a new technology of
I mean,
the body, mind, and spirit.
do you all remember when conscious breathing came out? Which is probably 20, 30 years ago. And I thought, wow, what a goofy thing. Who's going to be paying any attention to conscious breathing? Well, of course, now we realize the importance of what they call, the Hindus have known for a long time, pranayama, right? You know, just the breath and the whole energy of breath and how you can charge yourself and do all sorts of things. So, I mean, it's interesting, the things that we've taken for granted may be the most important things that are available.
Yeah. And, you know, and I kind of want to go back to World Sound Healing Day, because it's coming up on February 14th. And even humming that day, specifically consciously setting the intention of, I'm just, if, you know, you don't even have to go to a portal. You can just sound and hum with the intention of, I'm just going to send out healing to Mother Earth. I'm going to hum for 2 or 3 minutes, just sending out that love and that compassion to all sentient beings. So I'm hoping that on February 14th, people will be sure and visit our worldsoundhealingday.org website and find a group, find a link that is something that you might be interested in joining, or if you want to post an event that you would like to do. I want to encourage people to do that.
And actually, we are doing a global guided humming experience on February 14th. That's one of the portals. We doing about 4 or 5 different things. Some of them, yes, folks, they are pre-recorded, because we were talking about the wonders of the internet and the wonders of cyberspace. And if possible, I want to create the best image and the best sound that is not necessarily broken up by perhaps a bad connection at a particular moment in time and space. So most of the stuff that I do is pre-recorded but encoded with the intention of going out and affecting people. So I like to think that we like to think it's timeless. So one of the things we're doing is a guided humming experience with Andi doing this beautiful heart-brain coherence, and we talk about sound. So that's and that's just one of the things. There are hundreds of things. Go choose what you want to do, but do something
and know that
Become a sonic
I was just
activist.
going to say, know that you will, that you are becoming a sonic activist, that you are taking part in something that is all inclusive and you can be a part of it. And join us and thousands of other people, uh, even in the comfort of your own home, just like we're doing in the comfort of our own studios right now. You know,
And
you
all
can
sorts of
do that.
wondrous people all over the place doing their thing. Find something that resonates with you, and may everybody just contribute to this extraordinary vibrational medicine event for the beloved Mother Earth.
And maybe someday it'll be intergalactic.
Aha!
And we'll
It's
all
very
join.
possible.
Well, I'm sure it is intergalactic. It's whether we're aware of that is maybe another issue.
Okay, Buddha Bomb, good
Another
point.
show coming up. Yeah, that'll be another show we'll do.
Very good point. Because
Um,
maybe we're being orchestrated in uh, those frequencies and those vibrations that are just everywhere and part of us.
We could be zooming through. I'm sure we're zooming through multiple dimensions and multiple galaxies all at once right now.
I know it. And I know those Pleiades are really guiding us, I'm sure. I feel that.
That's a whole another rabbit hole to go down, and it's one that I've been aware of for a really long time, and it seems to be gaining a lot of consciousness these days in terms of that phenomena. And I think we will find out that indeed we may be slipping back and forth between dimensionalities and parallel universes, and it sure explains a lot of stuff to me.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe I go up the rabbit hole.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I like that, Buddha Bum. I'd rather go up the rabbit hole than down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Going up.
Too many allusions to Alice in Wonderland. You can't help it, man. It's pervaded planetary consciousness.
what was that line? Elevator in the Brain Hotel. I think that was a Donovan line.
Donovan's song. Ba, ba, da, 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 elevator in the Great.
Brain
Oh, man.
Hotel.
Yeah.
So, I just would love it if you'd like to comment at all on, you know, how music and the things that enter our consciousness are also affecting our health, and how there's a lot of stuff out there that's kind of polluting, just like junk food for the mind, that's penetrating us all the time.
Hmm.
I know it's good to dwell on the positive, but
No, 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 no.
But I think it's also good, Brigitte, to bring up, yeah, there is a lot of muck and mire out there, and it's, I mean, certainly positive music can shift and change that, but I don't know.
I was just remembering humorously the first time that I went on Coast to Coast with a fellow named Art Bell. And I went on there, young innocent that I was, wanting to talk about the positive aspects of sound. I'm going to educate the world and planet. And so it's up. Art Bell says, hi, and we have a guest tonight is Jonathan Goldman. He's going to talk about how sound can heal and be used to destroy. Oh, Jonathan, let's talk about the HARP project. And he probably wanted to turn me off immediately because I wasn't playing his game. But I had been a professional disc jockey, and I was knew enough to be able to dance with him for several hours in such a way. But I was like, well, Art, you probably know more about using sound to destroy than I do. So why don't you talk about that? But these days now, it's become so common. And you're right. Whether it's sound or frequencies or Wi-Fi current or whatnot that's there, we're all being affected. Listen, I'm going to jump back to a strange thing, just because this came to, I don't know who, we were watching. We were watching a fellow who may or may not have had access to Area 51, and somehow the subject of Nikola Tesla and his concept of projecting unlimited energy came out. And he said something that was so interesting, because this was said to me by an electrician who knew about Tesla, because we always talk about Tesla and the idea that he had this basically wireless electricity that it was going to beam, and you could basically hold up a light bulb and it would light up the light bulb and everybody could do it, and it got stopped. And you go, wow, well, this limitless energy could have been there, and how cool is that? Yes, but the opposite level is maybe we weren't supposed to be exposed to these different frequencies on a constant basis, because perhaps it would have been detrimental to our, I call it the biosphere, our actual energetic system. We're talking about 5G or Wi-Fi now, and his thing wasn't that far. And, it would have had to have been focused in certain ways. And it was just suggested by this fellow that perhaps it wasn't as beneficial as a lot of people mythologize it to be, because perhaps it would have meant exposing us to frequencies that were not necessarily therapeutic. Just a thought. So, I mean, there are all these different sounds and vibrations that are affecting us. And the best thing I like to think that we can do is to hook in to the energy of nature, to hook into the energy of the divine. And this is how we can balance out all the other stuff that's coming at us. Andy?
Well, we are being bombarded by electromagnetic frequencies that we are not even consciously aware of. And the more that I learn about those, the more I go, good grief, what can I do? I'm just being, bombarded. And what I end up doing is using my own voice through sound, and I'll hum or I'll tone, but also I'll put white light around my home, and I'll just try to put a shield of some kind up around me, because I don't know really what else to do. I mean, there's lots of devices that you can put on your phones and your computers and around your house, and we have a lot of those. And we
Why
hope,
not?
and we hope that they are deflecting some of these overwhelming electromagnetic frequencies, but they are a real problem. And I think it's been interesting, because of COVID and all of the attention on all the issues around that. What's been going on in the meantime is 5G has been being implemented, and no one is talking about that.
Don't look.
Because they're all focused, like we'll divert everyone's attention to the vaccine and those that are. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, 5G is now becoming, in fact, I read an article today that said if you've got whatever your cell phone is, if you've got an old phone, forget it, because you're going to have to get a new one, because they're only going to be using 4G and 5G in the technology of your phones. So, yeah, so it's all happening. I mean,
I cannot.
What about Brigitte? What about you in terms of like different herbs and things that you can use? I'm curious.
Well, I certainly, like the idea of just visualizing, surrounding yourself with protective light, and just, tuning into the divine forces that are there. But around my computer, I have the stone shungite. It's a black stone, and that's supposed to help. And I have some reishi mushrooms. And I also really think there's a big secret in learning to eat the plants, the weeds that adapt to adversity. You know what I mean? Because like the
Oh.
dandelion is going to survive the chemtrails and the, environmental stuff and the pollution. Not that I want to eat from a polluted road, but the plants have figured out a way to adapt. And they call this type of plants adaptogens. And eating the things that we've been marketed to think are weeds because they're free in our backyard, hopefully. No, they'd rather sell you some chemicals to kill those. Um, there's a secret in those plants because they have figured out how to be Jedi shapeshifters and adapt. So we're going to have to do that because 5G is not going away. And neither's all this other stuff. I mean, we can like don't sleep with your cell phone and don't be charging your computer in your bedroom and there's all those things. But we have been so graced with your presence tonight and I hope everyone tunes into worldsoundhealingday.org and finds out what time. I know I want to join in the guided humming because I really feel what that's doing. But we always close with a prayer, and I really just love the intention that is happening here and how I thank all of you for joining us and tuning in. But Buddha Bomb, would you like to say a few words to grace us on our journey?
Yeah, well, with a mind of gratitude, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, sharing your wisdom and thoughts, and opening our minds and hearts to the symphony that happens every moment, everywhere in the universe. And let's take that symphony into our heart and let it flow through the waters in our body. And now the planet needs healing, the universe needs healing. Let's send it out to all beings and all things. Thank you, universe. Thank you, everyone.
Blessed be. Thank you.
Oh,
Blessed be.
thank you. And many blessings of love and light through sound to each and every one of you.
Yeah, and see you all on World Sound Healing Day, February 14th.
Blessings.
Blessings.
All right, great show. Thank you. Buddha Bomb, thank you so much for recording it. Everything was so brilliant. I'm really inspired. I always learn new things.
I didn't record it because you got the recording, remember?
Oh, I'm
Oh, it
recording.
may still be
I'm recording. Okay, I did it. So I will send you
Yeah,
all the recording with the password. Sorry about all the confusion, boy, but I'm glad we figured it out. That
It
was
was,
amazing to do.
I knew that we would, and it was just wonderful to be
Yeah,
with you
I really
guys.
enjoyed this one. If you want, I just thought that this is such an interesting thing. I'd be glad to put this on my YouTube channel if you want, because I was so impressed with this one, and
yeah.
We
Well,
would love
Brigitte will
that.
send a link and then people just have to, it should be actually easier for them to watch the video than it was to, to tune in. Yeah, Jenna, who joined us, I was giving her tech support on how to get in because it turns out that what was different about, I figured it out as things evolved, but what was different about this meeting is you had to log into a Zoom account in order to be able to attach to the meeting.
Oh,
That's strange.
okay.
Wow.
And that's
Yeah.
what, and then people could tune in. So unfortunately, not a lot of people figured that out, but we'll make the recording available,
Wow.
and yeah, many people will be able to benefit will be able to watch it. So if you can post it on your YouTube account,
Yeah,
that
we
would
can
be
do
perfect.
that. Oh, yeah,
Wonderful.
we can definitely do that. And you guys will just see everybody, we'll feel everybody's vibration on February 14th. And next year in 2023, we'll see everybody again at the Avalon. I already have the room
Totally.
reserved.
Oh, nice. Nice. I just want to say that I'm actually been working on a soundtrack that I'm going to contribute and be part of Sound Healing Day. And it includes different forms of music. I had fun with it. It's not all the same thing, but I included about right in the middle, about 10 minutes of Steve Roach, who recorded indigenous sounds,
I love
chants, and
Steve Rhodes.
prayers.
I love
And so it's a way that people can either move or just be in like savasana or be still and really tune into their higher consciousness states.
Buddha Bomb, we are grateful. Everyone, we are grateful. And, you know, hey, we're all in it together.